Welcome to 20 Metre Restart Agree to Disagree Rugby League podcast. I'm your host Ra, and on today's show we talk about which team impressed the boys the most. Lachlan Coote returns for the Cowboys. Darius Boyd said no change needed for the Broncos. Josh Reynolds returned for the Tigers. Eels, what's going wrong? Is this an end of the era? Melbourne Storm. Our tips for round 6 and much more. Listen in. Hoons, Nick, let's get it on. And welcome back to 20 Metre Restart Agree to Disagree Rugby League podcast. I'm your host Ra, alongside Hoons and Nick. What's up, boys?
Good morning.
Morning.
Scores of round 4. Raiders defeated the Bulldogs at home 26-10. Sharks lost to the Roosters at home 28-10. Dragons defeated the Rabbitohs 16-12. West Tigers once again defeated the Melbourne Storm 11-10. Warriors defeated the Cowboys 22-12. Knights defeated the Broncos 15-10. Titans defeated the Seagulls 32-20 in Gladstone. And the Eels lost to the Panthers second time round 12-6. Let's start with you, Hoons. Which team impressed you the most in round 4?
I gotta say,
round 5. Sorry, round 5.
Yeah. Thanks, right. I gotta say, I was going to go for the Warriors again, but no, I think who deserves my credit this week is actually the Titans. Titans have been fantastic. 2 weeks in a row where they've beaten the Broncos and the Sea Eagles, especially that bounce back from a heavy defeat and then winning 2 weeks straight is fantastic. I admire their forward pack. I really enjoy watching them play. Jai Arrow has been a revelation for them. I think moving from the Broncos to the Titans to play more minutes, just like Jared Wallace did last year or a few years ago. They both were great in that game against the Sea Eagles. And it just shows the importance of a forward pack because Ash Taylor and Kane Algie both played on the back of it, and their backs are just, their backs are backing them with set plays and just brilliance. And yeah, quality side and deserves my credit.
Good. Nick, which team impressed you for round 5?
I do agree that with the Titans, what a great victory that was for them. But I'm going to have to say the West Tigers. I think a victory over the Storm for a second time in 4 weeks is absolutely phenomenal. And it wasn't an easy win. Storm showed up to play both times, and the Tigers, they just put in the hard work, and Russell Packer especially in that last few minutes, that really sort of spoke to the new Tigers culture. He's injured, they've got no more interchanges, but yet he hobbles back to the defensive line every tackle. He gets up, he just keeps working. He just wants that victory. He's hungry for it, and it's great to see that from the Tigers. So definitely the West Tigers over the Storm this week.
People, Tigers fans, happy with that? All right, moving on. Cowboys just having a disappointing season after making the grand final last year. And with some good news, Lachlan Coote returns for the Cowboys at fullback. How big is it to have him back for the Cowboys, Nick?
I think it'd be important. I think obviously it's never a negative thing to get your main fullback back into your squad, but I think at the same time the issue wasn't with Ben Hampton. Yes, he wasn't playing extremely well and probably wasn't filling the role that Lachlan Coote would, but I think the problem still lies with JT and Morgan. I think they still need to sort out their issues. There's a lack of, I'm going to say, chemistry there. They're not working with each other as well as what they have in the past. I would put that down to Thurston being injured last year. It's taken a few too many weeks to get comfortable with one another again. So, yes, Lachlan Coote's a good thing for the side, but they've got bigger issues.
I actually completely disagree. I think that looking at the Cowboys, I think Lachlan Coote is going to be a huge acquisition for our side to come back into the team. We have Ben Hampton's been solid but not great, especially in the ball playing. He's going to take the pressure off JT and Michael Morgan. But I just think defensively the Cowboys have been lacking. I seen one play where the Warriors attacked the right side of the Cowboys, which where Justin O'Neill, Kyle Phelps, and Colin Hess and Michael Morgan all play, and it was a defensive error. Justin O'Neill ran up and missed. I think it was Solomon and Carter down the right side. They go down that side, and then Ken Mamalo scores on the next play with the pass. I think that Lachlan Coote will give a points of difference on attack, and that's what the Cowboys need. I don't think that our forward pack has been too solid so far. It feels like that it's just that they're just coming back into it, but hopefully we can turn that all around next week. I can't wait, and it's good to have Lachlan Coote back finally.
All right, moving on to the Broncos now. Darius Boyd said that the Brisbane Broncos don't need change to their squad. Hoons, do you agree?
You know what? I must agree, because who do they have? They've got nobody else to really replace them. Especially if we're talking about the halves, because that's what all the experts are talking about is the halves, especially with Cody and Milford. But I think, who else do you have? Which quality half do you actually have? You lost Ash Taylor. Benji Marshall's gone back to the West Tigers. Titans are doing better than the Broncos, which is amazing to me, and the Cowboys. But and Benji Marshall's playing fantastic footy. Some of the best footy I've seen him play in years. But overall, as a team, I just think that there's a deeper problem. There's something not clicking with the Broncos. They have some great players around the park still. They have quality. Like we talked about the back row of the Broncos a few podcasts back when the Cowboys and Broncos were playing each other, and that back row of Alex Glenn, Matt Gillett, and Josh Maguire, we know that they will always come out and do their job. But I think the problem lies in the front row as well. I don't think it's the halves. The halves can attack. They just need quality ball. But the Broncos have been under pressure, and I completely agree with Darius Boyd. It should not be a team change.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a squad roster issue. I mean, you look at the Cowboys with Thurston and Morgan. They've got best halves in the game, and yet they're 14th at the moment. So it's not halves that the Broncos need. You can have the best halves in the game and still be down low. You need forwards. I think that's the Broncos' issue right now. Is they're lacking, as you said, Hoons, a front row. The back row, especially second rowers, I rely on them more defensively and attacking outer edges as opposed to making big hit-ups and making meters. That's your front row's job. And the media frenzy coming with Matt Lodge, he really hasn't delivered for all the problems he's caused in the Broncos. He's damaged the culture a little bit, just being there, just being present, and yet he hasn't delivered on the field. So I feel as if a lot of the other Broncos props are feeling that as well. Their culture's sort of been a little bit destroyed, and they're not making up for it. They're struggling. It's so frustrating to see the team like the Broncos invest so much in a player like Matt Lodge for what's he making, 40, 50 meters a game as a starting front rower. It's disgraceful. It's so frustrating to watch. So, but as Darius said, there's no need to make changes to the roster. We don't have anyone better to replace him. There's no squad depth there. So I'm genuinely really concerned for the Broncos at this point. But I do agree with Darius, it's not a roster thing.
Do you think it's a coach thing? Do you think Wayne Bennett, him investing into Matt Lodge so much? Do you think that Wayne Bennett's time has passed him? Because honestly, man, looking at it, I thought when they beat the Cowboys, I thought, okay, no, Wayne still has it. But after 3 games after that Cowboys game, I'm not too sure if Wayne still has it, especially with the way that he's been going. He's just taking shots at other coaches, especially Nathan Brown.
Yeah.
And so I didn't think that was fair. And I'm glad that actually Nathan Brown retaliated and said something back. Yep. But what do you reckon? I just want to get your thoughts on that, man, because let's think about this. Do you think it's a coach issue now?
I don't want to slander Wayne's name here because he's been so successful for us in the past. But yes, I definitely, for that decision of Matt Lodge, that's 100% the coach's decision. Wayne has said that, and I completely disagree with it. I think that's basically the stem root of all our problems right now. I see anyway in the Broncos squad. I think the fact he signed someone like Matt Lodge really spoke out about his character now, Wayne. That sort of seemed a little bit desperate to me, as opposed to same coach that sacked Wally Lewis all those years ago because of his attitude problems. Yet, he's hiring Matt Lodge now. There seems to be a slight change in his attitudes there. And so maybe it is a different Wayne. I didn't see him taking shots at other coaches either. And I agree. I'm really glad Nathan Brown stood his ground there, and he did it really well. I really liked watching that. So yes, I do see Wayne as not making his best decisions right now, but obviously I'm willing to back him for another season or two because of his history. It's hard to just turn your back on him and say, you know what, you've made a bad decision, get out. No one wants you. I don't agree with that. I think he's been successful in the past. He's allowed to make mistakes.
Now moving down south to Melbourne. Boys, is this an end of Melbourne Storm reign? Nick, what do you think?
It's hard to say. I think it's definitely an end of their complete dominance era. Without Cooper Cronk there, they are lacking that edge they had, and they won't just be that minor premiership nearly every year. They won't have that. They won't be that dominant. Yes, they still have the quality to be a top 8 side, but they have lost that complete dominance over the competition. I mean, winning the grand final, what was it, 34-6? That's dominance in a competition, right? But see, this year they just don't have that, and unless they sign a new halfback, and granted, Brodie Croft, give him time. He'll grow as a player. You can't judge a player on how they play at 20 years old. That's not fair to them. But there's no way they're going to be a dominant force with Brodie as halfback now, and a few rookies here and there. It's not building a dominant team.
You know what, man? I completely agree. I think that Melbourne's reign is over as in terms of dominance, but I still believe that they'll be top 8. I think that they'll fix it up, and knowing that they have the best coach in the NRL, I know for a fact that Craig Bellamy would never let another thing like this happen with the Melbourne Storm, especially the completion rate against the Tigers last weekend. But it's definitely shown vulnerability without Cooper Cronk. And we keep on going back to it because Cooper was their on-field general. That guy did everything possible for Melbourne Storm to win games and then close out games. Now, Cameron Smith doesn't have that, and I've never seen Cameron Smith be so hesitant on attack like he has been. He's been running the ball more, but not with the quality around him. Him and Billy have been teaming up, but no, I just can't see Melbourne's reign, especially with all those great players they've had for, the last 15 years until this year. So I think that, yes, Melbourne's reign coming to an end, but the dominance reign, they'll still be there in that.
Fans, what are your thoughts? Is this Melbourne Storm end of an era? Moving on, Parramatta Eels, top 4 contenders last year. Boys, what's going wrong? Hoons, tell me what's going wrong. They get Clint Gutherson back this week, but what's going wrong with the Parramatta Eels?
I think Gutherson's going to be a big key for them coming back because they really need it. They really need it. It's so hilarious watching the Eels. I actually had them in my top 4. They're definitely outside of my top 4 now, and I'm not too sure if they can even bloody get back in there. By golly, they suck. This year they are terrible, and they definitely need I think that they need a cultural change. I think it's like the Matt Lodge thing. Has Jared Hayne really tarnished that Eels culture? We know he hasn't played for the last 2 weeks, or if he has, he was injured in one of them. But in the same time, it's like they went from a top 4 side last year to a side that hasn't won a game this year. 5 rounds in, not even one. And I think it is a cultural change. I think it's a cultural attitude, I think it's an attitude problem. And the Eels better sort it out, or they're going to be staring down a 0-6 loss coming this week.
I completely agree. I think one of my first tips on the podcast was I tipped the Eels. I said Jaron Haynes hasn't been around long enough to be toxic to their culture, but 5 rounds in, he's proven me wrong. He has been toxic enough. And I'm sure, I know Brad Arthur's job's probably under fire at the moment, and I find that very unfair to Brad. You know, I think he probably will be a good coach, you know, but he's been... They've got Jared Hayne. You know, what's he supposed to do? They've spent so much of their salary just getting Jared Hayne back, and they say to him, you know, go work with Jared Hayne. You know, go bring the best out of him. But Jared Hayne's proven he's not going to bring the best out of teams. And he's a coach killer. Just like Robbie Farah was at the Tigers. You know, he got rid of the Titans coach, and then he left anyway. And now he's ruining Brad Arthur's record just because, you know, he's Jared Hayne. He's toxic to a team's culture. And I can almost guarantee you Brad Arthur didn't go to the board and say, guys, I really want Jared Hayne in my team this year. That sounds like a great signing and a great way to spend almost half of my goddamn salary cap, right? I can't grasp it. The Eels are in big trouble. Big trouble. And I do agree. It's an attitude problem. It's a culture problem. And it's either got to be Jared Hayne or the coach that's got to go. Obviously, personally, Jared Hayne should go. That's what I believe. But teams have always backed the players in these scenarios. So what would I know?
Speaking on the Tigers, Josh Reynolds' return for the West Tigers this week. Here's a question. Great one. Does Benji Marshall lose his position? Nick?
Definitely not. That is not fair at all to Benji to lose his position. Benji has proven... So, sorry, can I just correct? Josh was out for round 1, wasn't he? He hasn't played yet for the Tigers. So, what has Ben... Are they 4 from 5, the Tigers?
4 from 5. That controversial loss to your team.
Broncos. Nick. That's right. And great win for the Broncos there. We'll touch on that another time. But, those were 5 hard-fought games. And they were unlucky to lose that one game. You know, this is against good teams. The Melbourne Storm for 2 wins. You know... The Tigers are such a strong side, and Benji has proven he's such a leader to that side. You can't be a leader sitting as a utility on the bench for half the game. That's not going to work. So, no, I think Benji's earned his position, and he should definitely keep it.
I agree, man. I think that Josh Reynolds should come off the bench. Benji Marshall has been an integral part of why they won. He's a goddamn leader. You can see that he's happy to be back at home at the West Tigers. And you were just touching on it just before about Robbie Farah, how he was toxic. They chose Robbie over Benji, which was crazy. It was blowing my mind back 5 years ago when Benji left. And I always thought that Benji was the heart and soul of that Tigers side. Without them, they don't make no final series. He was on some of the best form of his life. But to see him rejuvenated. And Josh hasn't played a game. They need to ease him back in. We know that the Tigers paid big money for him. But how can you put him in the team? Luke Brooks and Benji have just been playing so well. Sorry, Josh, but you're on the bench, brother. And I know that Josh Reynolds is a team player. And he's done it for the Bulldogs, New South Wales, you know. So I don't think, hopefully he doesn't look at it as being demoted. You know, you haven't played a game. Benji's on fire. He's the leader. And look at that, field goal to win the game against the Storm. Benji, you're my starter.
Really well said, Hoons. Really well said. I completely agree with every single syllable that just came out of your mouth.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you.
Awesome. Tigers fan, Benji Marshall to stay. What do you think? Now on to our round 6 tips. Round 5 tips was really successful. Only 1 tip wrong. But this week we're going to try and get 8 out of 8. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, actually, right. Hoons and I both got our 3 right, so...
Yeah, we did.
I let the team down, ladies and gentlemen. Let the team down, but I'll rectify it by this week's pick. So Thursday, 12th of April, Roosters versus Rabbitohs. Nick, who do you have?
Well, without Sam Burgess, Roosters, no doubt in my mind. Rabbitohs did take Dragons by surprise last week, so I'll give them some credit there. And I honestly think Sam Burgess would have made a difference there. I think that would have been a much closer game.
I was going to say the same thing, Nick. I was going to say, if Burgess was playing Sammy, I would have picked the Rabbitohs. I reckon they would have beaten the Dragons.
And I see him as making a 4-point difference, definitely.
Yep.
So, but obviously he's out for 2 weeks. 1 week was last week, and this is his 2nd week. So, no doubt Roosters at home for me.
Roosters at home. Friday, 13th of April, Storm versus Knights, and at Amy Park, I'll be going for the Storm. The Knights are valiant in that, but the Storm will definitely bounce back. They won't go for back-to-back losses.
Is Will Chambers back? Because we know that he was suspended.
Yeah, he was suspended. He's back as well.
Yeah, big inclusion.
So Storm for sure at Amy Park. And the last game for Friday night, Dragons versus Sharks at Wynn Stadium. Hoons, who do you have?
Dragons. They already beaten the Sharks before, but the Dragons are playing quality football. Although, like we were just talking about the Rabbits, I think that if Sam Burgess wasn't there, I reckon they would actually got beaten. But Dragons, other than that, they'll rectify some problems, but their halves are playing so well. But it comes back to your forward pack, and their forward pack is phenomenal. They are all playing well. Even old Leeson Armel, who's coming off the bench, and he makes a solid impact. He's so good. I just love where the Dragons are taking their game, and I want them undefeated. I want them undefeated because next week's game's going to even be more beautiful.
Now moving on to Saturday, 14th of April, Warriors v Broncos. Hoons, who do you have for this one?
Sorry, Nick, but it's pretty obvious that I'm going for the Warriors. I think the Warriors are just playing so well, and I did pick the Dragons just the last game. I want the Warriors to win so bad, so we have the two undefeated teams playing each other next week. But I just think that the Warriors have proven against the Roosters and the Cowboys in consecutive weeks of the team that they are now. You can't say that they're a team of their past. They've definitely got rid of those demons, and they just look fantastic. The whole squad is playing so well, and that makes it easier for somebody like Sean Johnson and Blake Green. You know, those guys have been phenomenal. They've been controlling games. Isaac Luke's back to form, the Rabbitohs form of the old, and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. He's been on fire. Try-saving tackles, beautiful running game, and his passing game's definitely developed. He's a true leader of the Warriors, and well done to them. Warriors, rah.
Look, fair enough, Hoons. I won't hold that against you, but obviously we've both proven we need loyalty for our teams here, so as dismal as it sounds, I'm going to be tipping the Broncos.
Yeah, I like your loyalty, Nick, but they're not winning.
Awesome, boys. Games at Mount Smart Stadium over in New Zealand as well, so it's a home game for the Warriors. Moving on, Cowboys v Broncos at 1300 Smile Stadium.
You just said Cowboys v Broncos.
Oh, v Bulldogs, sorry. Versus Bulldogs. Still on that Broncos game. But anyway, Cowboys versus Bulldogs at 1300 Smile Stadium. Nick, who do you have for this one?
I've got to go the Cowboys. Cowboys at home. I can't tip against them. I've never been able to. I hope they prove me wrong. Morgan and Jade, it seems like they made a bit of progression last week against the Warriors. I mean, that's a strong Warriors side, playing absolutely out of their skin at home. And I think it was a 10-point deficit. So, I saw improvements in the Cowboys there. And I'm hoping that carries on a little bit. And I'm hoping, Bulldogs aren't a strong side as the Warriors. So I do see the Cowboys as a stronger side, even at this point of the competition. So I'm going to have to tip the Cowboys.
Yeah, man. Lachlan Coote's back too. So, point of difference in attack.
Once again, though, my problem wasn't with the fullback. It was with the halves.
Well, Cowboys for Nick. Moving on, Raiders versus Eels. Last game on Saturday night, and I'll be tipping the Raiders. Can't go against the Raiders. Finally, they gave quality ball to Lei Pana, which is good because you just saw the results and they actually won the game.
Agree with you, Ra. Agree with you.
So, Raiders for me. Sunday, 15th of April, Panthers versus Titans. Hoons, who do you have?
Everyone will probably pick the Panthers, but I'm going for the Titans. I reckon, honestly, like I said, their forward pack is quality. And they've been in the fight against two teams so far, the Broncos and the Seagulls, which in my mind, they're like middleweights. Panthers are middleweight to me. I don't feel like they're a heavyweight side. And if the Titans forwards can get into the game, Ryan James, Nathan Peets, Jared Wallace, origin player. Nathan Peets, origin player. Kevin Proctor, international. Jai Arrow, who's on the cusp of origin, and if he gets picked, deservedly so. And on the other side will be Will Matthews, if I'm correct. That's a quality forward pack. Now, if they can lay the platform for their team, for the Titans, Ash Taylor has proven, and Kane Algie, they've proven that they can win games for them. And I'm going for the Titans. I reckon that they're going to upset the Panthers, make it 2 losses this year.
Titans for the win for Hoons. And the last game of the round, Seagulls versus West Tigers at Lottoland. Nick, who do you have?
That is a tough tip. Is Russell Packer playing?
No, he's not. He's injured.
Touch and go, touch and go.
Ooh, touch and go.
That is such a tough tip. I mean, Manly coming off an upset, and then Tigers gonna be a little run down. It wasn't an easy win over the Storm by any stretch of the imagination. And Manly at Brookvale on a Sunday afternoon. It's impossible to tip, but I will have to go the West Tigers. They impressed me the most last week, and I can't tip against them. As long as Benji starts, I think they'll definitely win.
And if they can keep their solid defence up, honestly, their defence has been phenomenal. If they can stop the Roosters and the Storm, dude, I feel that not even the Seagulls will crack them.
I agree. I think as long as their defence is that strong, and if they frustrate Cherry Evans like that, Cherry Evans will just turn to water, and the Seagulls' attack will just have nothing. So I definitely feel as long as Tigers fill the role that they've been filling the last few weeks, they'll win that game.
Yep, and also Tom Trbojevic returns. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to 20 Metre Restart Agree to Disagree Rugby League podcast. Join us next time, but until then, I'm Ra with Nick and Hoons, signing off. Later!
Thank you.